We're just gonna wait for a couple more things, guys. Let's see here on both. Are we good on both? Yep, that's it. All right. What's up, everybody? Long time no see. Just to get a reintroduction, my name is Juan Rodriguez. People usually call me JR, Junior, whatever you feel comfortable with. It's been a long time since we've done one of these, but it is, as I said this morning, the most wonderful time of the year. It's mock draft season. You know what that means. We're back with season 2 of the NFL mock drafts, and it was a lot of fun last year. This year, we want to try to get bigger and better. So we actually have more guests this year than we did last year, and I always appreciate the support from you guys. Before we do get into the show, I know a lot of you have been kind of texting, calling, and just messaging me. What's going on? When are you going to do another video? When are you going to do another podcast? Just whatever the case may be. So big news. We did make a move. We are now actually living in Nevada. We actually moved to Las Vegas. I know that might be a shocker to some, and some that might have already figured that out. But we did make the move. We did it for personal reasons and for just to give it a shot and see how it goes. So that's why I've been kind of on the down low a little bit with the podcast and everything. I always try my best to try to give you content. It's just unfortunately with the time and trying to make everything, we're trying to purchase a home, so we're just going back and forth. But this wasn't gonna stop me from doing my project. What I'd love to do was the NFL mock drafts. So I do appreciate everybody that is tuning in right now. I appreciate everybody that's supporting me. And now the big secret's out. We did move to Nevada, and we're loving it. We miss everybody back home, but it was just time for us to try for something different. But we will periodically come back and forth. So whenever we do have time, we will visit. But other than that, it is good to be back. And let's get this started. Do we already have questions already? I haven't even started yet. But so other than that, we got nothing other than mock draft season. So let's just get this show on the road with pick number 1, which today belongs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, it is very hard to believe that just a few seasons ago, the Jaguars were 1 quarter away from beating the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game and then heading to the Super Bowl. A few years later, it feels like a distant memory now. That team has been dismantled, and a lot of things did not go right. For one, the Doug Marrone experiment, it failed. The Josh Allen sophomore slump hit him hard, and Gardner Minshew was not the answer at quarterback. So now here we are. They got the first pick, deservingly so. They went 1-15. Their only win was week 1 against the Colts. Had they lost that one, they would have gone 0-16. So they were pretty lucky to get that first win just to not fall into it. And a lot of other pieces fell out of place too. Yannick Ngakoue got traded. It just seemed everybody was leaving. Leonard Fournette left. A lot of pieces was just not coming together no more. Whatever that Jacksonville experiment was a few seasons ago where they were so close to getting to the Super Bowl is now a distant memory in the past. So let's just see how we got here. So we're going to start off with their 2019 or 20 draft class from last year. Now, they had a lot of draft picks. It's just unfortunate those draft picks did not match up with their wins. With their they had 2 first rounders. With the 9th pick overall, they took C.J. Henderson. Good corner coming out of Florida. The problem was it was just health issues. A lot of these guys just had injury-related problems. A lot of them. And that's no one's fault. It's just a physical game. It's just when your draft class is not on the field, it's very hard for them to see what kind of progress they're making throughout the season. And then, the 20th pick, they took Le'Veon Chasen, the defensive end linebacker tweener from LSU. Injuries again. It's just, I don't know what was going on in Duval County, but it was not looking pretty. It was not looking good. And for whatever reason, it just was not working out for the best of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their second rounder, they took Laviska Shenault. he had injury problems, but he came really on at the end of the season where he just really flourished to being a future number one wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He really flourished late in the year where he was making some incredible grabs and was showing his worth in that talented wide receiver class from last year. Third round, Devon Hamilton, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Injuries again. Ben Barth, Ohio, St. John, Minnesota offensive lineman. Really more of a practice squad type of guy. Josiah Scott, Michigan State, special teamer. Shaq Quarterman, linebacker out of Miami. Injuries just keep derailing. Daniel Thomas, safety out of Auburn. Didn't even make the squad. He ended up being in the practice squad. Colleen Johnson, wide receiver out of Texas, special teamers. Jake Luton, quarterback out of Oregon State. Started 3 games, but it wasn't even impressive enough this is why they had the number 1 pick. Tyler Davis, the tight end out of Georgia Tech, special teamer, practice squad, and so forth and everything. And then Chris Claybrook, the cornerback out of Memphis, special teamers as well. So a lot of draft picks and not a lot of production is the problem for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And look, we could sit here, everybody wants to point out the negatives of what's wrong with the Jaguars. And yes, there are a lot of negatives. They went 1-15. That was their record. They were 30th in offense, 31st in defense. Josh Allen, who was a defensive rookie of the year candidate last year, hit a hard sophomore slump, only 2.5 sacks this whole year. Gardner Minshew, cool name. Minshew Mania, that was a cool trend for a little bit, just not the answer for Jacksonville at the time. And the Doug Marrone experience was a complete disaster. Now, I know a lot of negatives, and a lot more negatives. It's hard to be positive when you have the number 1 pick in the draft. That just means you were the worst team in the NFL. But I always like to flip things. I always try to look on the positive sides of everything. Like one of my favorite movies growing up was James and the Giant Peach. And there was a saying in there, there's a line in there, don't look at it that way. I understand. All this I'm reading you, negative. But there was some positives, believe it or not, with the Jacksonville Jaguars. For example, 2nd round pick, Laviska Shenault Jr. He led the teams in receptions his rookie year with 58. Now, I know what you're saying. 58 receptions, big whoop. But there wasn't a lot of talent in Jacksonville anyway. So for him to get 58, that's pretty impressive for no quarterback name other than Minshew and Jake Luton, who split starting time. He was third in yards with 600, and then he was tied for first with team touchdowns with 5. That's a positive. That's a really great positive. So at least when he's on the field, at least you know what kind of productivity he's getting. He's going to be eventually the number 1 wide receiver for Jacksonville. That is very easy to see right there, right off the bat. Number 2, James Robinson. He was an undrafted free agent out of Illinois State, and he rushed for 1,070 yards. That was 5th best in the NFL. Not just 5th, this and that. No, 5th best overall. He's already claimed himself being in the top 5 for rushing yards his rookie year, and he went undrafted. Do we have a question, or do we have anybody? No. Oh, okay, because I thought you were looking. My bad. I'm sorry about that, guys. But no, he rushed for 5th in the NFL. That's pretty amazing to me. For a guy who wasn't even looked at, didn't get scouted, he just got a tryout with the Jaguars. He ended up getting the starting role where there was no preseason, just training camp. You didn't know what they were getting, but this guy can play. This guy can flat out play. And it's good to know that they got him on the cheap end. Eventually, they are going to have to sign him if he keeps producing this way, but that's a good positive. Another positive was this. The Jaguars had a lot of cap space, a lot. So it could be either a quick turnaround and get some veteran presence, and you can outbid other teams for top players. For example, they re-signed their left guard, Andrew Norwell. They didn't want to let him walk. He's their best offensive lineman, one of their best offensive linemen on the team right now. Cam Robinson, Andrew Norwell, they're coming back together. That's impressive. That's already solidifying the left side of the line. They just signed Marvin Jones from the Lions. He's a good asset. He's going to be a good mentor to Laviska Shenault. Malcolm Brown from the Saints, a former first rounder. He's now part of that rebuild in that defense. Roy Robertson Harris, he's good depth. They signed him from the Bears. And you know the Bears, they had a lot of depth defensively. So when you bring in depth like that, that's always good. Tyson Alualu, they drafted him in the first round years back. He went to the Steelers, got a little better. They brought him back. He's back. That's good. More depth. He could play outside. He could play inside. Carlos Hyde. That's the first connection of the new head coach, the Ohio State connection. Now that they hired Urban Meyer. All right, so now they had a good 1-2 punch combo with James Robinson and Carlos Hyde. That's pretty good. Chris Manhertz from the Panthers, special teamers ace, just good player overall. He's going to be a special teams captain pretty soon. Philip Dorsett, former first rounder, hasn't been panning out, but he's had some moments. Now you put him on a team with Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, and now you add Philip Dorsett. He can be your third, fourth best wide receiver, and he can also contribute to kick returns, punt return duties. That's good. Jihad Ward, he's had a roller coaster of a career in the beginning with the Raiders when they drafted him. It didn't work out. Went to Indianapolis, picked it up, went to the Ravens, got better, and now he was a key addition to this line. He can also play outside or inside. He's an athletic defensive lineman. That's good for him. Shaquille Griffin, former starting corner for the Seahawks. Now you bring him into Jacksonville. Mentor CJ Henderson. Show him how to pick up a step or two. Since everybody's rookie year was pretty tough because of no training camp, well, limited training camp and no preseason. So those snaps in preseason counted. I am one to always voucher preseason's important. I get it. To other fans, it is not the best. Preseason's just a waste of time. Why are we going to waste our time with guys who are probably not even going to make the team? Well, that's what it's for. That's what it's for. Ask a bunch of these undrafted guys that ended up in the Hall of Fame to ask them if preseason is important. It pretty much is, because ask James Robinson how much he had to work that much harder, and had he played in preseason to show what he's got, maybe that was a good sign for him that he didn't play preseason. That's good. Then you got Rashawn Jenkins from the Chargers, good safety depth now. You got Chappelle Russell, the linebacker from the Buccaneers. He just won a Super Bowl championship not that long ago. So now you bring him to Duval County. It's like, hey, this is what I saw how Tampa run in. Now they have a little bit of championship pedigree in the building. Now they have a player who didn't start but contributed and knows what it takes to win. Jamal Agnew, he's a special athletic player from the Lions that they just snagged up. And then they got Rudy Ford, a good depth for the safety. So it's very weird because fans always want to hit the home runs. When I named the names in the 2020 NFL draft for the Jacksonville Jaguars, they just want the big names. Every fan wants every pick to be a Hall of Famer. And I think it's time that I talk, and this is not coming from me. It's just, this is what I see in almost Facebook groups, this group. Everybody wants their picks to be Hall of Famer players. Guys, I hate to break it to you. It never works that way. If everybody can draft a Hall of Fame player at every position, don't you think that anybody can be a general manager? Everybody just wants their players to be the best all time. Look, everybody, whenever a wide receiver is taken, I want him to be the next so-and-so. No, it's just not going to happen. And I see it in the NFL Network too. I see it in all these, sports shows. Well, he has the highest ceiling to be the next Aaron Donald or Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp's in the Hall of Fame. Why are you going to put a guy who hasn't even stepped onto the field? You're already giving him Hall of Fame, pressure. It doesn't work out that way. Everybody wants the home run pick every pick, every round, every draft. And I'm just here to talk to those fans. It just never happens that way. It's easy to say, well, I knew that was coming. Well, how would you know? How do you know? Do you think if DK Metcalf got drafted by somewhere else, you think he'd be having the success he's having right now in Seattle? Who knows? Hindsight's 2020. Everybody's saying, well, Justin Jefferson should have been the first wide receiver taken. That was hindsight 2020 now. Obviously, Henry Ruggs wasn't the best wide receiver, but I get your point. The point is, everybody, when it's over, and hindsight's 2020, well, that's when all the big shots like, oh, I told you, no, it doesn't work that way, guys. How it works is this. The teams draft the players that will fit their scheme at the right place at the right time. And sometimes injuries get in the way. That's a big part of the game. And sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. It happens. Perfect example. Me and my friend were talking about this not that long ago. Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick. And now he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. You're telling me all those scouts, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was almost going into the 7th round. He was 1 round away from being undrafted. It's easy to see hindsight 2020. Like, how can everybody so stupid being passed up on Tom Brady? Because at that time, he wasn't really highly regarded. And he shouldn't have been. His years in Michigan, he didn't prove that he was worth a starting job. It showed. But again, this is about the Jaguars. Hindsight's 2020. Yeah, they had a terrible year. Yes, their draft picks didn't work out too well. Yes, everything just did not go right for the Jaguars. Gardner Minshew failed. Doug Marolle's gone. Urban Meyer is now the head coach. He has left he has left the college booth to come coach in the NFL. Legendary coach from college football is now an NFL head coach. It happens. Look, when you're Jacksonville, you need a splash. No market, tiny market, not one of the biggest followings. Let's see, we got Washington football team has traded. Yeah. I mean, that's just breaking news right now. Washington football team has traded the 19th, 51st. I have to look up into that, Slasher, but I will look into that. If that is true, that is breaking news for me because I'm just hearing about this, but I'll look into that later. But again, look, guys, it happens. Urban Meyer's the new head coach. This is the new direction of the Jaguars. They need a splash. Urban Meyer's, he's a good college football coach. I don't know how he's going to pan out in the NFL. We've seen it all the time. We've seen college coaches try to come to the NFL and they fail miserably. We see NFL coaches that fail here, go to college, and they work great. It happens all the time. If they believe that Urban Meyer was the best man for the job, then who am I? Then who am I to blame the Jaguars for trying to make this move? I don't blame them one bit. So now with Urban Meyer at the helm, they got a lot of free agents out of it. Their 2019 draft class should come back and be healthier this year. Everybody from 2019, 2020, they're going to be fine. It's just going to be one of those years where you just have to trust the system. That's all it is. That is all it is. You just got to trust the system. So overall, I'm liking what Jacksonville did this offseason. Yeah, I know it's not the best moves, and it's not where you're going to want to you're not going to want to be surprised if obviously the wins aren't going to pile up right away, but they're bringing in good veterans. Their draft class is coming back healthier. They got a new sense of direction. it's just a new attitude for the Jaguars. And again, it wasn't just that long ago they went to the Super Bowl, or they were one quarter away from beating the Patriots to go to a Super Bowl. So now they have a chance. They have a chance to make this work. Urban Meyer has one of the golden opportunities in the NFL that doesn't happen a lot. Cap space, number one pick, and you pick your guys. You're going to pick your guys. So obviously, with all this happening, we already kind of have a sense of what they're going to do, but the Jaguars got a golden opportunity. Urban Meyer has a golden opportunity to prove themselves, to show they can at least be better. I know they're going to get more wins this year. They have to. You can't get worse. The only way that happens is 0-16. That's the only way it can get worse. And now, should that happen, that means something went terribly wrong. So it's just one of those things. I mean, I'm liking it. I like what all the moves. I like all they did. Now they have to get better on both sides of the ball and special teams. They got to get better in all three phases of the game. But I believe that Urban Meyer has the right guys and the right staff to turn the Jacksonville Jaguars around. It's going to take time, yes, and that's the thing with the NFL. It's a we need to win now situation. It's not like that anymore. Like, teams should be patient enough to know it doesn't happen overnight, especially with a team like the Jaguars who dismantled the defense. Jalen Ramsey is now in Los Angeles. Calais Campbell is now somewhere else. It just doesn't happen that way anymore. So if Khan is patient with Urban Meyer, I hope it works out for them. I really do. And look, we all know what they're going to do, number one. And I know what's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen. But like I said, it is mock draft season. We're excited. Now, I have to see if that rumor is true that Slasher just put about a few minutes ago, if the Washington football team did trade the 19th, 51st, 2022 first overall, their first round, 23 and 24 first rounders to the Falcons. Because if they did, that totally changes the dynamic of the draft again. So, and then I had to do my rescheduling and everything. I feel bad because I already had a guess with all the three teams that did trade today. I had to switch their dates around. Luckily, they were good sports, and I enjoyed them, and I enjoyed their company. So they were all good sports about it, and can't wait to be a guest with them and everything. So here we go. It is selection time. So they have holes everywhere. We know they got holes everywhere with this team. This team just, when you get a new head coach, you get a new sense of direction, you get a new staff, you get new everything, you get the number one overall pick. Obviously, we know where this is going. But due to tradition of the NFL draft, it is now my time of year. It is my favorite time of the year. And this is my favorite tune of all. So here we go. My assistant, would you please play the tune? Everybody loves that tune. I love that tune. So here we go, guys. Hopefully nobody gets too shocked about this pick. With the first overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback out of Clemson. I'm sorry, I had to do a little bit something dramatic. Look, it's not a no-brainer. They're going to go Trevor Lawrence. At this point, Trevor Lawrence can do no wrong. He can't. That's his home. That's it. He is the number one overall prospect. I kind of disagree with that. I don't think he's the best quarterback in this draft class, but everybody kind of seems to do. I have my opinions about it, but we'll get more into that for the people that are new to this. Let me explain who Trevor Lawrence is. So he is the quarterback coming out of Clemson. In 2018, he won the Archie Griffin Award. He was second all-team ACC Football Rookie of the Year for ACC in 2018. He won two-time first-team All-ACC in 2019, 2020. AP third-team All-American in 2020. Heisman Trophy runner-up in 2020. Three-time ACC champion 2018, 2019, 2020. college football national champion in 2018, offensive MVP for the college football national championship in 2018. So in his rookie year, he threw 65% of his passes, 3,280 yards, 30 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 177 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. It got better, 2019. 3,665 passing yards, 65% of his completion still, 36 touchdowns, a little bit on the high in the interception rate, but he did make it up with 563 yards rushing with 9 touchdowns. And in 2020, his last year, 3,153 yards. It was a short season, so of course the numbers kind of dropped, but he did complete 69% of his passes. But the problem was his touchdown went down again because, again, short season. 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Only this time, 203 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns, though. Look, I get it. Trevor Lawrence is going to be the number 1 overall pick. I do not see him as the best quarterback in this draft class. I know I'm going to get slandered for it, but I believe in this year's draft class by a small margin. I believe Zach Wilson is the best quarterback in this draft class from BYU. Call me crazy. It's just being a Hurricanes fan. We did have to play against Clemson. You know, the Hurricanes did have to play against Clemson. And as a fan, I was always worried more about their defense, the supporting cast, the offensive line, wide receivers, running back, the coaching staff, and then Lawrence. It was kind of like the Jimmy Garoppolo effect a couple years ago when the Niners went on that Super Bowl run. There was a lot of layers before it's like, oh man, Jimmy G has to beat us. A lot of layers before it got there. And that's the same way I see Trevor Lawrence. Great athletic ability, good player. It's just his last two big games. When they lost the championship game to LSU. I get it. LSU was strong, good defense, good everything. That LSU team deserved to win that championship with the Joe Burrow and all those guys, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, all those guys. They deserved to win that championship. But following next year, they played against Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl, and they got dominated. They got dominated pretty hard. I don't know whether it was lack of talent because Alabama played that same Ohio State team, and Alabama ran them over. So I can only imagine, had they beaten Ohio State, what would have happened if Alabama and Clemson met again. So overall, I just think sometimes now because after that championship run, you can kind of see it was a different demeanor, different everything. It was different. It was just different with Trevor Lawrence. I don't feel comfortable if I was Urban to draft him because if everything is right around him, it showed when you have the perfect defense, when you have good supporting roles, like the wide receivers, the running backs, the offensive linemen, that's all fine. But do you trust him enough if it got down to it to win? Because remember, when they won that championship, that defense took care of Alabama. The offense, did its part, but that Clemson defense was so legendary, especially up in the defensive line, that Tua, all those guys did not have time to produce at all. They were not ready to go. That Alabama offense was not ready for that Clemson defensive line and that defense overall with Dexter Lawrence, Cleve Farrell, Trayvon Mullen, just the list goes on and on with that defense. So that's cool that, he won a championship, but did he do it? Was it the defense? I don't know. Then he had 2 chances to prove us wrong. Obviously, he got to the championship game. You lose to LSU. That happens. The Ohio State one, hey, when the defense was getting pounded, they needed you. And that offense fell flat again. I don't see where Trevor Lawrence, especially going to Jacksonville, would help anybody in this case. But that's just the way the cards are playing right now. He will go number 1. It's just, in my opinion right now, I don't see him as a franchise quarterback. I do not think he's a franchise guy. It's just a gut feeling. For me, it's just a gut feeling. I've seen it before. Quarterbacks get overhyped a little bit too much. And coming from the guy watching Miami, and yes, Clemson pounds the crap out of Miami every year. But there was layers to the Clemson team, and Trevor Lawrence was like the last layer of peeling an onion. And it's like by that time, you already had enough onions in your soup to make your soup flavorful. Like you didn't need it. At that point, yeah, he looks good. Yeah, because the defense already did half the job. So what's the point? But all in all, that's where Jacksonville's going to go. Now we'll see. We'll see 3 years down the line how it turns out for everybody, obviously. And in 3 years, I'm either going to be right or I'm going to be wrong. And I'm not saying this to say that I hope he fails. It's just I just don't see him that way. Now, if he succeeds, then hey, kudos to him. He proved me wrong, shut me the hell up. That's it. I mean, everybody's wrong sometimes. I mean, except God. God ain't wrong, but other than that, we're all make mistakes sometimes. It's just if it were up to me, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't pull the trigger for Trevor. I would go for a Zach Wilson before I do a Trevor. So other than that, that is episode 1. It was good to see you guys again. We're gonna do an episode every single day leading up to the draft. Tomorrow we have the New York Jets on schedule. So again, same time, same place, same everything. And as always, you can always follow here on YouTube with the J-Rod Sports Debate Discussion Show. We have a Facebook page, Instagram page. We have podcast stuff. So please, share with your family, share with your friends. I always appreciate the support. It's fun to see you guys. And yes, I do see the comments here. Thank you, Slasher, for the news. I am going to look into that to see if it is true, because if it is, then I have to redo my schedule again, and that's going to be fun again. And then other than that, we got really more comments here. Let's see. Good luck to the move in Nevada. Thank you very much, you guys. Thank you for all of that. It was kind of a big move, but we decided to take the chance. Here we are. We're enjoying it so far. Everything's been fun. Everything's been good. But little by little, it's gonna be a lot of moving pieces. So one day we'll be here. Next day we'll probably be at the purchase of our home, and it's just gonna be a lot of moving parts. So I just want you guys bear with me this year. It's been a weird year, but God bless, we're all still here. God bless everybody that's still out there fighting the good fight and everything. And then before we do we have any comments on the things? Not today. All right. Well, we probably do, but we have to look into that. But other than that, tomorrow it is the Jets. They have the number 2 pick. This is where the draft really gets interesting, because this is one of those situations where, well, what do? You got Sam Darnold. Do you trade him? Do you keep him? Do you draft a successor? Do you go best player available? Who is the next best player available? So that's all going to be figured out tomorrow. And like I said, it's going to be the same place. And a little while, we are also going to do a podcast on the show. So if you can follow that as well, it is the All Sports Talk podcast. We will be doing that as well. So until then, we will see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Good night. And let's see what the Jets got for us tomorrow.